You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
I think we need a mimosa.
Let's do it right now.
All right.
We're recording anyway,
Okay.
so let's just do this.
I can't pop my eye on. Like,
Do you need a
what you're
knife?
saying.
Because I carry one on the
I
collar.
noticed that. That's super cool. You and Shannon must have gotten along really well because you remind me of each other.
You know, when I saw Shannon,
Isn't he a cool guy?
He's-
I love him to death.
he's cool. Mike's cool. But when I saw Shannon's beard,
Did you get beard envy?
I got beard envy, and I thought I questioned my sexuality.
Oh my goodness.
Because, like, I grow a beard.
Still a paper towel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just to cover it in case.
And then there's an extra cup there for trash.
Okay.
But when I saw that beard, and it's not like he's just growing a beard.
No.
This is like...
It's a statement.
It's a statement. It's beautiful. It's groomed. It's like milk chocolate on a white guy.
That is a good
Nice.
sound. Very good sound.
So I bought the high end of the low end champagne.
No, Tots is very good.
Is it?
Very
I don't have
good.
no clue.
Yeah.
I drink Jim Beam honey.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
I see over there. Okay.
Yeah, I don't drink any of the fancy stuff.
I'm excited about your first mimosa.
I'm nervous about your ratio.
I won't give you my ratio then. How about that?
Okay.
Because it might be a little bit strong for you. Foams up a
Oh,
little bit.
Lord.
So you just
Whose is that?
This is yours. This is still yours. It's a little foamy. Don't
All
worry.
right.
So you normally drink whiskey then. You're a whiskey person. I love it.
Well, I'll drink anything.
Okay.
That sounds good when you pour it, too.
Yeah. It's very good.
You know what I should have done? I should have shook the orange juice. I should have taken all the things off it. But then at the same time, I didn't want you to think that, like, I roofied this stuff, so.
I know. So when I travel so much for work, I have little things that I do all the time. If I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I'll put something over my cup just in case, because I do get.
Well, people are
about that.
creeps.
People are crazy, especially when you travel. All right. So I gave you more orange juice.
Okay.
That's not very much. Try
Let's do it.
You try
Let's
and
do
tell
it.
me what you think.
Yeah.
I wonder if I should put mine in my cute cup or do this.
Do the cute cup.
Do the cute cup.
Yeah.
Okay. My little cute cup. Okay. Very girly.
What does that say?
Winery on the Green.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you get to New Braunfels a lot?
I work in New Braunfels.
Okay.
Yeah, so I get out of there a lot.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I love it.
Heavy hands, Alyssa. Heavy hands.
It's just the foam. It's just the foam. I promise.
Uh-huh.
Sunday fun day, right? That's the car.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of foam.
Yeah, it's a lot of foam.
So the first time I ever had champagne, I'll tell you the story. I was a minor in high school, and my buddy, we call him Laredo, because he's from Laredo. That's how you do in the country. You just name people from where they're from when they're not from where you're at. And then his brother got married to a lady who was Indian. Mm-hmm. Now, Nina tells me I'm racist, but Slurpees, not teepees. That's who she is.
Okay.
That kind of Indian.
We usually say
Scandaloso.
Okay, yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Mm-hmm.
If you can scoot that way, because I think that's where there we go. And so we're in high school. I think we're 17, and maybe one of us drives. And we went to the wedding in Waco. And we get there, we were in a room. This is like we're from George West. We had 2 stoplights in the town. So this is big time. You know, we're going to the city. And so we get there, we go to the wedding, and we go to the reception. Well, it's probably 400 to 500 Indian folks and 8 of us. That was the bride-groom ratio. And so we get there and we go to the reception. We're in the reception hall. It's massive. There's tons of people there. Nobody likes us because we're loud and obnoxious country kids.
Of course.
And they're reserved, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do the dance, wedding dance, the husband and the wife.
the traditional, yeah.
And so as soon as they're done, 450 Indian folks get up and leave the venue. It was empty after the dance.
Oh my goodness.
And so here is 8 country kids sitting in the back of the venue. and all we see are tables of unopened champagne bottles.
Oh, no.
We drank all night long.
How bad was your headache the next morning?
You know what? The only thing I remember is waking up. I'm a snorer, but at the time I was pretty good. I didn't snore.
Yeah.
I just remember waking up to my buddy snoring heavy. And it was funny because you said you're almost 40, so you're in the range for music. So I just remember laying there, and it was the coolest thing ever outside of Noel snoring. Was we fell asleep with the radio on.
Okay.
Because we had beer in like the drawers. For being minors, we had access to a lot of alcohol, which was strange.
Texas, small town. It happens.
Well, the radio's playing acoustic version of Plush by Stone Temple Pilots.
Okay, STP, yeah.
And I remember laying there going, oh, that's what he says. Because I had no clue what the lyrics were. But then I heard that and I thought it was amazing. But it was so funny because I'm going to tell too much. Boo Boo ain't going to listen to this. My cousin Boo Boo, there was an older lady there. She was in, I don't know why, she found him more attractive than what she probably should have, especially for being a minor, and she was probably in her 60s. But it was so funny because we hacked on him because she invited him to her room and he decided not to go, so we made fun of him, even though we wouldn't have gone.
Missed out on a cougar.
That's what I was.
Cougarville.
And now here I am in Cougar Rain, and I'm looking at saber teeths.
Yeah, no, I think we're pumas. That's the proper term. Cheers, Sunday fun day.
Cheers.
Cheers. Love
Let's
it.
taste this. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me the age gaps.
I don't know the age gaps, but
That's
there's
really good.
a cougar, and then there's a puma, which is a pre-cougar.
Oh,
Yeah,
so then puma's younger than a cougar, and then we get into saber tooth.
Pre-cougar. Yeah, so saber tooth, puma, cougar.
Oh, so the puma's between. Because the saber tooth's the old one.
I thought I went saber, puma, cougar.
Oh no, saber tooth.
It just slyly sneaks right in there.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so I'm thinking puma, cougar,
Okay.
saber tooth because
All
that's I think that's the.
Well, I want to know where I fit in. That's all I want to know.
You're probably a puma.
Puma. Okay,
Yeah.
I can live
because
with being a puma.
I think it's not just the age gap; it's what you look like, right? So you look pretty young.
Yeah.
My wife's friends, I quit calling them MILFs. They're GILFs now.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
'cause they're getting up
Getting
there,
to
girl.
that age,
They're
yeah.
getting old.
So what do you think about your first mimosa?
I think it's really good. I like the ratio. It's
Do you need some more OJ?
no, not
Okay.
at all. I was actually thinking maybe the opposite, but this is
Oh, well, we can remedify
next
that.
round.
Okay.
Next round.
Shannon would be very proud of you.
Shannon, cheers, Shannon.
Cheers to Shannon.
And that beautiful beard. I wasn't kidding yesterday when I told you he was a good-looking SOB. That guy's good-looking.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy. And then, like I said, we bonded in the river over mimosas. When I first met him,
Did you meet him at the river?
at the river?
Really?
Because that's where I spend the majority of my time is in the river. So I grew up in New Braunfels. We have two beautiful rivers. And when I met Shannon, he asked me, "What are you drinking?" I said, "Don't worry about it. It's not the same thing you're drinking." And he kept asking me, "What are you drinking? What are you drinking?" I said, "I'm drinking a mimosa." He's like, "I'm drinking a mimosa."
He's
and,
a girl.
He's this big guy with a beard. You'd never imagine him drinking a mimosa. And then I said, "Well, I drink mine a little bit differently with just a splash of OJ." He said, "That's the way I drink mine too." And
Really?
we bonded. And we've been great friends ever since then.
Well, it's
so.
funny because when we met, we talked about that, and I think we talked about it on the podcast. When we go places, my wife's like, beer in a dirty glass. And I'm like, I need something with some flowers and a little tiki
Goodness.
thing on there.
Yeah.
I just want to have the experience.
Yeah,
so.
it is. It's very fun.
It was funny because growing up, trying to drink as a minor, it was real difficult because options were limited. And so you either drink beer, which I could not stand beer.
I can't do
I've
beer.
Never been a fan of
I'm
beer.
not a beer drinker, no.
If I have to, and if I got to be social, Miller Lite. It's going to be something watered down.
Okay.
But I ended up being the Boone's Farm guy.
Oh,
or
that's
Purple Passion.
what we first drank. Boone's Farms.
Which
blue,
one?
Blue Hawaiian. I did Blue Hawaiian.
I was a fuzzy navel guy.
Okay.
I would show up to the party with like 3 bottles, and that's what I drank all night, was warm fuzzy navel.
two, and I was good to go. That's what we take on the river in our big cups. 2 Boone's Farm. And those were like, what, $2.99 then?
Oh, they were super cheap. Now they're probably
I know.
$3.99.
Yeah, but that's what we drank too, Boone's Farm.
Where I haven't really done the river too much in New Braunfels. We used to go to Concat when we were kids, and we Lakey, and but terrible part about that was if you have a dry spell, there's no water.
I have not been since around 4th of July because it's not flowing and it's pretty dirty. It's kind of depressingly sad right now.
Really? It's dirty too?
It's a little bit dirty just because it's not flowing. So
got you.
It'll rain. It'll flood. It'll fill up again.
Now, I do drive really slow by Hinman Park all the time just because there's so many girls in bikinis pulling tubes.
Absolutely.
And so I put my hazard lights on and I go through real slow. At 46, you get to be the old creepy guy. Me and my buddies have been talking about it. When we're in our 30s, we're like, I can't wait to be the old creepy guy that everybody just ignores and let me do whatever I want. So
It's here. It's starting. It's here.
I'm living the life.
Yeah. I'm right behind you in the 40s. So.
No, you're not. You're not that old.
Goodness.
40s is the new 38.
I'm ready to embrace 40s. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
What are you looking forward to in the 40s?
I think you're just so much more settled. I feel like my 30s have been very settled. In your 40s, you just really own it. You're very settled. And for women, I heard it's a good time of their life. They get very passionate, very feisty, like you said your sister-in-law is. So I'm ready to embrace it. So,
one of the things that's been cool about getting older is like, this is a weird thing, is I think we get to the point where you get a little older, not necessarily that you're paying more attention to it, but you see your mortality way down there and it's closer than what it was 20 years ago. And so you end up having less patience for BS.
Yes.
Less patience for people that are not contributing positively
not positive
to
in your life. Yeah. You don't waste time on
so
superficial.
When you do all that stuff, you start to focus more on what do I really like? Because this is what happens in your 20s. You don't know what you like. When you're in your 30s and 40s, you know what you don't like. So you start to make less time for things that and so it's kind of nice because there's less clutter, I guess. People always kind of call it
minimalist lifestyle in your 40s almost.
Or they like to say it's what is it? When you buy a convertible and grow a ponytail. Midlife
crisis.
Yeah. So God has decided I'm not growing a ponytail unless it's under my shirt, because apparently body hair is something that happens.
You're just working on the beard.
Well, I trimmed it up because I was like, I'm never gonna be. I don't have the neck to be a Shannon.
Shannon, so. Shannon the beard envy. I love it.
I need to make a sticker of him because it's so impressive. But.
Yeah, he should. I told him that should be their logo for their company. Just him and the beard, right?
Yeah.
People would like that.
They do some cool stuff with that too. With I see them at Whitewater a lot.
They're at Whitewater. I know they do sports teams, and they're all over. It's not just New Braunfels anymore. I think they go all the way to Fredericksburg, San Antonio. They're everywhere. So.
That's why he has no time for me.
Yeah. I've even gotten one of their IVs. Next time he comes, get an IV.
I did.
Okay, good.
So during COVID, we were not feeling well. This was a couple years back. And so my wife's a school teacher. So what we did was immediately we started taking all kinds of vitamins. And it was like, I'm going to tell you what I took. And since you're a nurse, you're going to go, oh, you shouldn't have taken that. But I took zinc, D, C, what else? I think there was one or two other ones. But we just got on that every day. We'd have an emergency, one of those little mixing things.
Very good.
Anytime we went to go be around people or whatever. And so it took us like a year and a half before we got it. And so as soon as we got it, it was like, I'm going to call Shannon. And Shannon's like, I'll be right there. And it was so funny because here we've been trying to avoid catching COVID. And, you get a little anxiety about going out in public and doing things and touching things and having dirty hands. And I'm a face toucher, so you'll see me do this or I'll rub my eyes. And Shannon just shows up, no mask, hanging out. Sitting on the sofa, shooting the shit.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you don't get COVID. So I've probably had it like 20 times. I don't know.
At least, yeah.
So I was like, that's when my anxiety over it kind of like, well, Shannon's trucking through this. I should too. And then the other thing was, early on, there was this huge push to stay home and don't leave. And my brother came to town with a couple of buddies of ours, and we went to the poorhouse. And it was so funny because we walked in there and there's bands playing.
Yeah.
There's people mixing drinks and passing cash. And so I looked at my brother and I said, I guess we're not doing COVID. And he's like, nah, fuck it. And so I said, all right, so if we're in, we're in. So we just had a good time. We didn't get sick, but it was nice to kind of push that to the side.
Yeah, I think it was definitely different in smaller towns versus being in big cities, and I feel like we got to live a pretty normal life here. We're pretty lucky.
Did you run into... Now, let's talk a little bit about what you do, that way people know, because I want to come back to how COVID affected you while you were doing that. So you're a traveling nurse that... You told me once, but I'm having...
Yeah, I'm a traveling nurse practitioner, and I've been doing this for about 12, going on 13 years now, and I think I have the best career in the world. Yeah. I cannot complain. So.
I agree with your Instagram.
Yeah. You see all the neat places I get to travel and meet so many different people and just go all over the nation, and when I'm not traveling, I'm traveling for pleasure too as well. I definitely have the jet setter bug in me for sure, definitely.
So what kind of drew you into that? Because like I told you earlier, depending on what parts of the state or country you're from, a lot of times you're not exposed to potential employment opportunities and things that you can do career-wise. So what kind of drove you in that direction? What did you always know about it? Did you have a family member or...
No, I actually didn't. So I went into the medical field actually after 9/11. So I when I was 17, I think had the PR marketing major on, and then 9/11 happened and everyone was losing their jobs. So I said, I want a job that I will always have no matter what. Yeah. And that was the medical field. So after I went back to school to become a nurse, I learned about travel nursing just from word of mouth, and there was no internet back then, so just word of mouth, and I saw these people going really amazing places, and I said I wanted to do that. So you get your experience after you graduate from nursing school. You need about 1 or 2 years experience, and then you start contacting recruiters, and they just say, where do you want to go? What's your specialty? What's your experience? And I've been just all over the nation. I can't even tell you how many places, but I'd probably say my favorite places are Santa Barbara, California, and Maine.
Is it because of the weather, or what is it?
I like Santa Barbara. It was great weather. It was just, if you can't be happy in Santa Barbara, I don't know where you can be happy. I think they have 300 days of sunshine a year. The hospital is beautiful. It's right on the beach. But then Maine surprised me. I did 3 contracts in Maine and absolutely loved it.
What was it about Maine? The lobster?
I ate way too much lobster. And this is when you go into like little hole-in-the-wall restaurants and you pick your lobster, and then a few minutes later they bring it out on a sandwich for you.
That's cool.
So it was amazing. I was there in the summer, fall. I was never there during the winter, though. I don't know if I'd survive during the winter. But yeah, Maine was a beautiful surprise. Just the hiking, being outside, the great food, different beaches. Beaches, but loved it.
Is the employment opportunity is it competitive, or is it pretty much wide open? You can pick wherever you want to go when you want to go?
It depends. So if you want to go to really sought out locations, California, Hawaii, places like that, it'll be more competitive, but there are always jobs out there. It pays really well to do travel, nursing and nurse practitioners. So I'm surprised more people don't do it, but I think it's just leaving their comfort, leaving their stability, leaving their home. Yeah. And you do have to have a bit of a flexible personality just to get out there and try something new. Yeah. So, but yeah, there's more jobs than you know what to do with, is what I always tell people.
So not to get into any personal pay, but in your thought process, what is the percentage that you would make traveling as you would to just staying in your local area? Yeah,
absolutely. People ask me that all the time. I make about 2.5 to even 3 times the amount if I had a permanent job staying here. And I only work about 6 to 9 months a year full time. Oh, wow. So that's not even working full time.
And I'm assuming the hospitals or whoever you're working for are paying for travel and room and all that good stuff?
Correct. So they pay for your travel, your rental car, your flight. You're either get a furnished condo or a hotel, and you just really have to show up and do a great job. It's pretty amazing. So like I said, I don't know why more people don't do it, but
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I love it. So
what are some of the worst places that you've had to work at?
I have never had a bad contract. I like to say I've never had a bad contract. I've had interesting contracts. Okay. I've been in middle of nowhere, Kansas, and I was there during the most active tornado season they had in 10 years.
Really?
So I think I slept in the hotel basement every day for a month. It was every night was a different tornado. It was crazy. So
that's that's something that I guess people don't take into consideration is something like that. When you think of Kansas, you think, oh, it's Kansas. But then with the weather issues and things of that nature, did you ever consider leaving there early, or did you think?
No, not over the weather.
It's bad. I guess it's bad if you break a contract.
It does look bad if you break a contract. Gotcha. And I've never broken a contract before. But yeah, most active tornado season. So that got me. Where else? Philadelphia. I would say the Northeast is a little bit interesting just in terms of the personalities, being in the Northeast, and if you don't grow up there, the surgeons' personalities were a little bit different. They had very big personalities is what I'll call it. Yeah. So that's very different the Northeast versus other areas of the nation that I've practiced in too. So
I guess what kind of personality does it take to be somebody like you that goes into an area that you've got to deal with a doctor? Because again, we just said you don't want to break a contract. You want to fulfill it because it, I'm an idiot. So I'm going to say it's like being an Uber driver, right? You're going to get 3 stars or 2 stars and that looks bad. But do you find that you have to deal with strong personalities regularly, or the doctor's pretty easygoing for the most part?
Most of the doctors are really great that I work with because you're there to help them. So I work with surgeons and I'm their right-hand person. So I'm there to make their life easier. They want to stay in the operating room and I want to keep them in the operating room. So I'm there to make their job a little bit easier. So I think every once in a while, yes, you'll come across a strong or big personality, as I like to call it. But I think if you have an easygoing personality, you don't take things personally, it's fine. But yes, if you're a little maybe sensitive, they might get to you sometimes because, surgeons, that's why they're surgeons. I compare them with pilots, surgeons, and attorneys. They all have the same type personality.
Well, that's got to be difficult on your end then, because I'd imagine my dentist the other day, we were doing some stuff and I could tell she raised her voice at the lady helping her, because she wasn't giving her what she needed when she needed it. So I'd imagine when you go to so many different places, you run across so many different people that do things their own way. Yes. So what is your process to get familiar with what they do or the way they do it?
Yes, that's a great question. So I think that's what drew me to traveling, is because I wanted to see how different places practiced. Because going all over the nation, every facility, hospital, they do things their own way and then so different. So I've kind of taken things from different parts of the country and state and kind of molded that into my own practice. But when you go somewhere, you can't say, oh, well, we do it this way. You have to, assimilate to their facility and their practice and just kind of like blend in. And that's what it takes, just having a flexible personality, being easygoing. I can show up and, meet anyone and talk to anyone. And, I fit in pretty well everywhere, but I have that type of personality. But if you're someone who's maybe a little bit more introverted, doesn't like trying new things or new experiences, it's probably not a good fit for you. But I think you really enjoy it or you don't. There's, like I say, there's not a lot in between.
Do you find that doctors realize that you are a traveling nurse, so maybe they interact with you differently during a procedure than they would that somebody that's been here at this hospital 10 years or something, to where maybe they're a little more lenient with, maybe you didn't put something on the table or maybe you didn't hand them something when they needed? Because I like I said, when I saw my dentist snap at the lady, I was like, it kind of threw me off. But then I get how intense the job that they're doing and how important it is, that it would drive you crazy if you didn't have a certain tool or if they didn't hand it to you immediately, because you've got to be you're watching the process, right?
Yeah.
So I equate it back. I'm going to use stupid correlations, but it's just what I know. So when I worked with a welder, to me, it was like I always watched what he did, and in the process of what he was doing, I knew what he needed next. And the more we worked together, that got more fluid. Yeah. But it was because we worked together for such a long time. But you're coming in new to some places, or even with, maybe it's a place you've been before, but maybe a new doctor.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on you to perform, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So just not too long ago, I've been at a hospital that I've been at for years, and there was actually a physician who was traveling. So there's a traveling locum tenens physician, and then me, locum tenens nurse practitioner. We had literally just met minutes before, and then we have to go in and go scrub in for a surgery together, and we have to work together. And being in surgery, it's a very intimate, close environment. And in ortho, you're drilling things, you're hammering things, you're kind of all over each other, trying to hold and retract things. So yeah, it's nice to meet you. Let's go do a surgery together, and you get comfortable really close whether you want to or not. But everyone's really nice and really professional. And then also, I think just working in ortho trauma surgery, you see a lot of horrible things, so you kind of bond over that. And then I hate to say it, but the way we kind of compensate for seeing the horrible things, we joke around, probably inappropriately, but that's what gets us through the day.
That's my favorite kind of conversation.
Yeah. So I know if anyone went to our office, we'd probably all be fired for, the jokes that are told. The same thing in the the operating room.
Yeah.
I'm like, if people really knew what happened in the operating room, just the jokes, the music, the laughter, but that's what makes it a good experience for everyone. And you want the surgeons to be relaxed so they do a good job in the surgery and everyone else in the room. So
you guys are getting folks that might have trauma from a car wreck, that have come into the ER, and then that's when you guys get to work?
Correct. So I do orthotrauma surgery, so that's all bones. So we see a lot of motorcycle accidents, car accidents. We do some stabbing, some shootings. That might go to like general surgery trauma, which is like the belly, chest surgery. What else do we? And then we just get the random things like, I'm sorry, but you guys, y'all do some stupid things.
Oh, we're wired that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen the teenage boys jump off the roof to the trampoline and then they miss the pool.
Oh, yeah.
But we see that a lot. Did you do that when you were in high school?
I've been a fat kid my whole life. I never did it. I watched it, but I never did it.
I just now told my mother the other day that I did do that in high school. Jumped off the 2-story roof, the trampoline, and the pool. So.
Wait a second, you just said you guys are dumb.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was following my big brother and all of his friends.
Got you.
So,
That peer pressure.
But yeah, no, I mean, just random things like that too will also happen. But I've worked Sturgis, the motorcycle rally. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that in South Dakota. Yeah, and then that's a lot of motorcycle accidents, obviously. So.
What happens when bones shattered? Do they have to go in there and remove all those fragments, or what happens, and how do they repair something like that?
Yeah, we try to remove some of the fragments because if not, they can float around and like cause some pain and injury in the future. But it's a hardware, it's a carpenter shop in our operating room. The same like drills and hammers that even you're familiar with. They're fitted for the operating room, and my surgeons are just using them. And by the end of the case, there's blood on the ceiling.
No kidding.
It's pretty brutal, but they put them back together nice and tidy, and that's just what they do. But yeah, there's a lot of hardware we use. We use rods, screws, things like that.
So my wife makes fun of me a lot for all kinds of things, but I love to hunt and fish. Mm-hmm. I have no problem field dressing or cleaning animals. Because we grew up that way.
Yeah.
We grew up doing that. A lot of times that's how we fed people and fed ourselves. I can't do people blood.
No?
I cannot. If you're injured and I'm the only one there with you,
call 911.
You're going to die.
So that's good to know. Call 911 immediately.
I can do that, but I can't look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get acclimated to those kind of atmospheres, or was it something that immediately, like my wife's interested in gory things like that, and grosses me out. I can't watch it.
Yeah.
But is that something that you've always been you've thought was cool, or did you have to get acclimated to?
No, I actually didn't. I definitely had to get acclimated. So I remember my first day ever in the operating room as a nurse. I thought I was going to faint. I had to go because, you're all garbed up in your sterile gown and your mask, and you cannot touch your face. So I think you'd probably die because you cannot touch your face. So everything has to be sterile from here down. And I think I just got overheated and I thought I was going to faint. So, and luckily the nurses saw me and they're like, go stand against the wall. And that still wasn't good enough. They put me in a chair, and that was on my first day ever in the operating room. So I got very discouraged. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And never happened again. Never happened again. Now, something still grossed me out. I'm trying to think. I'm not big on toenails and eyes. Toenails and eyes for some reason. I don't like those two things.
Eyes?
Eyes. I don't like, because I pick up shifts in the urgent care, and we see a lot of foreign body in the eyes, or people want their toenail removed. And when I hear that coming in, I start dry heaving inside a little bit.
Yeah, I get terrible feet. You'd hate it. Mm-hmm. But eyes is weird.
Eyes. I don't like, things inside the eyes and having to flush the eyes or pull something out. No, not into it.
I have this weird thing with the neck. Anytime I see a show or a documentary and there's trauma to the neck, freaks me out. So I guess in a way I can't make fun of you because I got my quirk.
We always kind of laugh. Everyone has their own thing at work. Some people don't like phlegm. Some people don't like, everyone has, some people faint over getting their flu shot at the hospital. It's kind of funny. The medical people will be fainting over that.
Really?
And they give shots, but they can't have it happen to them. So it's kind of,
what funny. Forces blood on the ceiling?
Oh my gosh, my surgeons are animals. They're animals.
In what way?
There's a lot of hammering, screwing. So when we do like joint replacements, we actually have to wear like a whole hood. It looks like we're in a space suits. We actually call them the space suits.
Yeah.
So you'll have to, I don't know if you can handle this, but you'll have to YouTube total hip replacement or total knee replacement.
I have once.
Yeah, and you'll kind of see why there's blood on the ceiling and why we have to wear the big space suits, the hoods, and everything that pump oxygen through them.
My wife's hot cousin, her husband had a hip replacement. So we went and looked it up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that is simple about that.
No.
It's a brutal, well, from what I saw, you'll know better than I will. It was a brutal, I think they cut the joint off.
You have to dislocate the hip.
Dislocate the hip, cut that piece off. And then there was like it was like a metal joint. Here I am describing it when you're the one that does it. And then they just hammer it into the bone.
So that hammering, usually that's when the blood is flying and hitting the ceiling.
So bad.
And, sometimes in the operating room when we're doing a smaller case, it depends on what the case is, depending on how much you garb up. Obviously you always have your eyes protected, but I've had things hit me that should not hit me. And I looked up at my surgeon. I'm like, did you just get blood on me? They're like, I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you later.
What's the worst thing you've been hit with in the procedure?
Oh, gosh. You know what? I've been hit with blood in the eye, even wearing eyewear. Somehow it came, I've had this happen. It came through the side when I had eyewear on and hit me in the eye. So, then you have to go flush your eye and then you have to do blood tests for almost 2 years. So,
no kidding.
Yeah, they take that pretty seriously. Thank goodness. But
what about in your mouth? You covered up pretty good?
No, I'm not, because you have a mask on. I've not ever had anything in the mouth.
Okay.
So, now you just instilled a new fear in me.
I can't wait
about that one.
I can't wait to see that photo when it happens.
No, but I've had blood in my hair before. Even we have a hat that we wear, but my hair's so white blonde. So when I got blood in my hair, like it wouldn't come out all day long. So my surgeons were laughing at me and making fun of me.
What is the process, if you can share it, when you're done with a procedure to kind of decontaminate? Because now it sounds like you work at a butcher shop. So
yeah, a little bit. So after a case, we take everything off. Usually we'll have like booties on that come up to our knees. We have the gloves, we have the gown, we have the mask, we have the hat. We take all that off. If it's a really dirty case, we even need to change our scrubs too. Okay. And we do that actually pretty often.
Are there showers or something?
There are showers. Okay. I think maybe I've had to take a shower at work twice because it was something that came in. We weren't even sure what it is. But yeah, rarely do we actually have to take a shower. I wish my surgeons would shower more often, though.
Like even before the procedure.
Yeah, even before the procedure. Because they work so many days in a row and they work 24/7. Sometimes I have to tell them, I'm like, gosh, when's the last time you showered? They're like, is it bad? I said, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, what's funny is when you have people like that, like I work in an engineering firm, and it's interesting to see how many autistic people work in engineering firms. So I would think that there'd be something similar in this kind of industry where these people are doing a job that very few people do. So, I mean, my hygiene's considerable from time to time. But I would imagine these guys, when they're working as many hours as you are, the last thing they're thinking about is, what do my armpits smell like?
Exactly, because they're on call 24/7. So there's a call room in the hospital, and they'll usually stay in the call room. And there is a shower in that call room, but I think they forget about it sometimes.
So what is your downtime like when you're at work? Because this is one thing that gives me anxiety is I hate when, and I'm trying to get better at it. And I may one day, but not right now. When I'm not doing anything, and then in the blink of an eye, I've got to go 100%.
Yep.
So what is your downtime, and how I guess it's almost like being a firefighter, right? They sound the alarm and all of a sudden you go into work mode.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. So what are you doing when you're on call or when you're at work in your downtime? Is it sleeping or?
No, I can't relax enough to sleep at work unless I'm in the overnight. Then I'll try to grab some sleep. But usually in the morning we get there very early. We start between 5:30 and 6 a.m. in the morning. I know, so early. We round on patients before surgery, and then we usually start some surgery. Sometimes I go in and first assist in the operating room, and I'll actually help my surgeon. If it's so busy on the floor, I keep seeing consults that come in. Those are things that come in through the emergency room, and then I start getting patients that are going to need surgery surgery, ready for surgery. And then if we finish everything up, I call it the sit and wait. You have everything tidied up, and then you just wait for the next trauma to come in, and it'll come in. And yeah, when a trauma comes in, it's usually ortho trauma that responds, and it's called general surgery trauma. They do the chest and the abdomen, and we all respond to traumas together. And we work very cohesively and very close together. In most hospitals, our offices are pretty close together, if not together. So, like I said, our office is just kind of like one big frat house locker room. So we have usually TVs, loungers, things like that. And we can relax a little bit. The surgeons will take naps quite a bit, or they'll go to the call room and take naps. But I'm not really good about sleeping at work. So.
I guess your day's pretty full in general. So even in your downtime, you're doing something work related.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of downtime. It's a hit or miss. It's trauma. So usually it's busy, and it's most of the time it is busy. But every once in a while you can have a little lull and maybe grab some coffee. And I've been known to turn on some movies in our office before and just kind of relax a little bit.
That's cool. What is your? I used to work at a jail. And it blew my mind. I always thought New Year's Day would be the heavy day, but it was always Christmas. What's the time of year that you guys are just bananas at work?
We hate fireworks.
So 4th of July?
We hate fireworks. Memorial Day, 4th of July. So yeah, I have some pretty gruesome pictures with the hand trauma. So everyone's blowing up their hands. And there's even jokes that will be posted online. It's like, it's 4th of July, watch your hand. That is not a joke. But no, with any of the big holidays, it's mainly New Year's for us is a big one. Christmas, Thanksgiving, you'll get more of like the belly case of the gallbladder. People will eat too much and their gallbladder will get irritated, but that's not a bone, so that's not my department. It's the big holidays where people are unfortunately drinking and driving. So we see a lot of accidents. Or, working here locally, people are drowning in the river. There's, things like that happen a lot.
Wow.
Like the lakes.
Yeah. So what is, let's go back to the firework end. Because that was,
fire.
I saw you get squeamish and make a face, and I was like,
I have a good picture. If you can handle it, I'll show it to you later.
Yeah, okay, we'll see you later. We'll see you later. So are we talking trauma to the meat of the hand, or are we getting down to the...
It just depends, both. So I've seen one hand, the one I kept a picture of. It was blown off, but somehow we referred it to ortho hand, which is like their specialty is just hands, and they were actually able to save it and put it back together. But the consult from the emergency room physician was just come.
Yeah.
I said, what is it? At least tell me what it is. He was just so defeated in life. He was like, just come, please.
So I guess when something, like for me, I'm thinking black cats and those little worms that you light. And are they making fireworks that?
I don't know exactly what they're doing. They're probably doing things they shouldn't be doing, but I think it's maybe not letting go of the fireworks, or I could not tell you. I try not to ask too many questions anymore, because then you're just, banging your head against the wall going, why? Well,
like I've seen those videos, or not the videos, but like the images you were talking about around 4th of July, where they show like these, usually they're x-rays and they're like really disformed or deformed hands. I've had a mimosa, so it's called disformed.
I love it.
So you guys can put that back together?
Some of them we can. Sometimes we have to amputate some fingers. So yeah, the one I'll have to show you, we kept it for teaching purposes too. And obviously we got the patient's permission, but it was just blown up. All the digits were just like splayed open, and somehow they kept the entire hand. It was incredible what they did. But it was a 18 or 20 hour surgery.
Really?
Crazy. So
it might be that case, but what is a case that you've seen that you were surprised that y'all were able to put things back together?
Oh gosh, probably some of the motorcycle accidents I've seen, they probably broke, 48, 49 bones in their body. Really? And, we have to do things in stages. We can't fix everything at once because it's too much swelling. It's too long for the patient to be under anesthesia. So we'll do things in stages. We'll fix the most, we prioritize, the most critical things first. We'll let the patient recover, then we'll take them back to surgery the next day and then the day after that. But I would say motorcycle accidents, I won't ever get on a motorcycle. And it's not the person on the motorcycle. I hate to say it's the other people that don't see them. So
I used to ride for a while, and I will say it made me a better driver because it made me more aware of how bad other people drove.
Yeah.
But there were some situations that were just ridiculous what people would do in front of you, and you have to slam on your brakes. But I I guess for you guys, it's more critical to handle any broken skeletal structure, around the heart and the lungs and things of that nature.
Correct. So that will always take priority. Or if any bones or open fractures, anything sticking out, then we need to take care of that first. But we stabilize the biggest things. People falling off ladders during Christmas, that's a big one for us. So every time the Christmas tree or the house lights, the Christmas tree house lights, we're like, great, we're going to start getting really busy. So 'tis the time of year.
That's so funny that you see holidays like that now, I guess. What is one of the funniest things you've ever seen?
Gosh, I was thinking about this the other day. The porcupine still stands out to me. I wasn't in surgery, but I was working on an urgent care in Montana. And someone got bit by a porcupine, and so they had to come in for the rabies, and it seemed like it was a rabid porcupine because it kept coming after, and he was out hunting. So, he got bit, we, cleaned it up, we sutured him, gave him the rabies vaccine, and we needed to send off the porcupine head for testing, for the rabies testing. And, we're in the, Montana, very rural, people do everything themselves. And he's like, oh, that's no problem. He's like, I have the porcupine in a truck because they save the quills because they're very valuable. So, I was like, I have to see this. So I walked out with him, same knife you had, the porcupine. He's like, here's the head. What do you want me to do with it? I'm like, where am I practicing? This is definitely Montana. This isn't, Miami, Florida. This isn't California. And he was like, here's the head. And I was like, oh, well, let me get a specimen bag. And then, we put it in a specimen bag and it went in our refrigerator until they were able to come pick it up. But yeah, the porcupine, I don't know why that just always sticks out because it was pretty bizarre. You don't see that every day.
So what happens if it's rabid? There's a cessation of shots or something?
Yeah,
right?
He had to get so many shots because it was rabid. I don't know. I couldn't tell you offhand. Rabid. Yeah, what exactly he had to do. But I think it was like 3 different things he had to come back in for. So, and then, watch himself, obviously. But yeah, I just remember, coming back, he's like, here's the head. What do you want? I was like, oh my goodness, here's a porcupine head. And then now it's in our refrigerator and the urgent care. And it was so funny because no one else, thought it was abnormal. They're like, yeah, just another day at work. But I had not been in Montana before. So that was a little surprising to me. It was like Yellowstone there.
So does your career affect the way you raise your boys?
I think so. So I always tell my boys they're not allowed to play football. They
or
can't
ride
play
motorcycles.
Football, or I hope they don't ride motorcycles. I try to tell them stories about work. I don't think I really share pictures with them. My older son, he faints over the side of blood.
Oh, really? Good boy.
He's a fainter. He's not going to be a doctor when he grows up.
So am I, buddy. So am I.
Yeah.
I'm a fainter.
So he's a fainter over blood. I've actually seen him pass out over his little brother getting a nosebleed before. But yeah, no, I try to tell him stories about work. I'm like, look, we had this boy that, he did this, and, make sure when you're a teenager, you don't do stuff like this. And, I try to teach them and tell them stories. But yeah, I try not to be a helicopter mom, but, you're a little bit cautious, but, you still have to live life and, Well,
I tell people, my wife's a special needs teacher, elementary age. And it's funny because she'll come to the house every now and then and she'll be like, you guys are stupid. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like me and my friends?
Yeah.
She's like, no, boys in general.
Boys.
And, I tell everybody this. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, our job was to spear a woolly mammoth, a saber-tooth, not the cool kind.
Yeah.
And that's what we were built to do. So you were physically made to do a job, but at the same time, you're also mentally made to do the same job.
Correct.
So you didn't get as many brains as maybe the girls did. So I don't think that we've evolved past that very much. So that's why guys still do
I think I agree with that statement. So
TikTok proves that.
Yeah. I'm like, this is why women live longer than men for some of the things. But
it's funny because me and my buddy at work, we always talk about our wives, and it's like, he'll say something like, "This is that women live longer than men," and it's like, yeah, but I think at some point we just quit. It's like,
just give up on life.
We're ready. We're ready to go now.
Yeah.
So how do your and share as much as you want, but how is it being a mother and a traveling nurse?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. So it is difficult, being away from home, but in the long run, I get more time at home with my kids.
Yeah.
So, but people ask me all the time, how can you leave your children? What kind of mother are you? I get all sorts of things.
That's ugly.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm telling them, so when I had a permanent job, I left very early in the morning because surgery, we start at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning. My kids weren't even awake yet. And then I'm getting home 5:30, 6, 6:30. And my kids go to bed at 8 p.m. I was never seeing my children when I had a Monday through Friday permanent job. So when I start traveling, I only work about 6 to 9 months a year, just depending on. And I usually do the 7 on, 7 off schedule. So I work somewhere a week and then I fly home a week. I work somewhere a week and I fly home. And the company, they fly you back and forth home. Yeah. So I take off most of the holidays, a good chunk of the summer, and I have a lot more time.
So in reality, you're probably spending more time with them than you would otherwise.
I am, and that's why, it's funny when people ask me that question, they're like, how can you leave your children? I'm like, but I get so much more time at home with my children now. And they've gotten to come with me on some cool trips before. So I was a nurse practitioner for a summer camp. And
was that this summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they got to come with me to summer camp. So I was a nurse practitioner. I was working. They got to come with me to camp. It was this really nice camp and they got to go for free. I still got paid. What a neat experience. And they just had a blast. If they're out of school, I'll try to take them with me on trips. It just kind of depends on if they're on holiday from school or not. But
that's pretty awesome because in hindsight, looking at it through that lens, you're probably getting more quality time with your kids than most people get with theirs.
I think so.
Because when you think about your daily interactions, you're going to work, you're coming home, you're making dinner, you're doing homework, and right to bed. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I always say when I'm working, I'm gone, I'm not there. But when I'm home, I just get to be, home and be mom, and it's really nice. So in the long run, I get so much more time than I did with a permanent job, and I'm getting the flexibility and getting paid obviously more. So like I said, I don't know why more people don't do it.
I was gonna say this
I
sounds.
figured it out in life.
I was gonna say this is really. It's almost like, why wouldn't somebody do this?
I think it's stepping out of your comfort zone because once you've had a permanent job forever, or maybe you're vested with, retirement, or you like your medical benefits, that's probably overwhelming to step out of their comfort zone and go somewhere completely new. So, you're showing up at a hospital in either a new city or a new state. You don't know anyone, but I think it depends on your personality. I love meeting people. I love seeing how different places practice. I love traveling. So this is a great fit for me.
That's awesome. I love that you do this. I love that it works out so well for you and your kids. I think about it and I go, man, that sounds amazing. And there's times where I'm like, well, I'm not married to what I do now, but I am a creature of habit. Yeah. Like I need when I don't have my routine, I get real fussy, like a toddler. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's kept me at jobs that I didn't necessarily want to stay at because I like the routine. I like the process of doing the same thing over and over. Yeah. And so it really takes somebody with an opposite mentality to say, let's go. Whatever it is, it's an adventure. It's almost a constant adventure.
It is a constant adventure. And like what you described to me, doing the same thing, that's my biggest fear. Yeah. So
your life sucks.
We're the opposite. So, I love seeing different things and new things and just, every day is a new adventure. And I like jetting off to different places. But doing the same thing every single day, it's not a good fit for me. But everyone's a little bit different. Yeah. So.
Because it's funny because you're very right. People are just different. For me, that consistency allows me to not put very much, I guess, thought process into things. Yeah. And it allows me to kind of refocus on something else. And so, if you've seen people who see my podcast, I wear a black shirt all the time. Yeah. I figured we're going to have mimosas and I was going to dress nice today.
Yeah, I love it.
But I read a thing a long time ago. I think it was Albert Einstein said that he wore like the same suit every day. And not the actual same suit, but the same style. Yeah, I read that because it was one less thing to think about. When I heard that, I'm like, I'm doing the same thing. Yeah. Because it just allows me to. You saw me here when I'm setting up the cameras or doing it. I'm literally talking to myself and I'm counting things. Yeah. Because to me, it's like that makes sure that I did something. Because once I've done it, I don't go back to it. Yeah. I don't worry about it anymore.
It's done.
I don't have to think about it anymore. And so I think being the guy that is boring and consistent as far as like in his daily patterns, that allows me to not have to worry so much about the little things. Yeah. Something like you've got a lot of moving parts, and you have to be focused on all those moving parts because they're all important, right? Your job's important. Your interactions with your coworkers are important. Your kids are important. even down to scheduling your travel days back
Yeah.
and forth. That's important,
Correct.
laundry that you
Yeah.
probably don't even think about. So it's like, you see how there's so many moving parts. Like for me, it's overwhelming, and I know I'm going to drop something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you are.
Oh, and things get dropped. Oh, that's happened, I'm sure, before. Flights have been missed. And
Yeah.
yeah, things happen. So.
Do you think your boys find any interest in what you do? Maybe when they get older?
It's kind of interesting. My older son, he always says he wants a job that does not have to travel. So
Tell them to call me.
yeah, he was like, I just want to be home with my family. I don't want to travel. And he does tell me that all the time. And I felt a little bad when he said that. I said, is it hard for you when mommy's away? And he's like, yeah, sometimes a little bit it is. He's like, but I always know you're coming back home, and then you get to take time off with us. But he did tell me that he wants a job that you don't have to travel. So because between his father and I, he probably saw a lot of traveling, because his dad would fly all over the world and give lectures.
Oh, okay.
So he saw a lot of travel in our life. But
Tell him, if you want to live a boring lifestyle, I got a guy you need to talk to.
yeah. But you know what? They have the perks of all my traveling. So because I travel so much for work, you accumulate miles and points, and then I turn them into really fun trips for us. So we just got back from Niagara Falls. We went to Canada for Labor Day weekend, and
That's cool.
I literally booked it Thursday and we left on Friday.
Really?
So it was just spur of the moment. I'm like, kids, let's go somewhere. Let's where it's not 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And we took off to Canada, Niagara Falls.
How did they like it?
They loved it.
Really?
My youngest kept saying this was the best experience of his life so far. So that was really sweet to
Really?
hear. But yeah, just turning in your airline miles and your hotel points, and hardly any of the trip we actually had to pay for besides food and just the things we did.
Yeah.
So that adds up.
Did he enjoy the entire process, or did he love Niagara Falls?
They love the traveling part too. So, and I'm teaching them to be really good travelers. When we get to the airport, I'm like, you look up the gate, you tell me where we're going to. Now, they've gotten spoiled with all the lounges because I have every single lounge known to man because I travel so much. So I'm like, kids, this is not how normal people travel. This is not how I traveled growing up, if we even got to travel. So, they do enjoy like the lounges, and they get to get sodas and snacks and things like that.
It's funny because I have friends that go on pretty nice vacations, and like, make sure you tell your kids this isn't normal.
I know, or we get upgraded to first class a lot. I'm like, this is not normal. So this is not how we're normally going to travel. It just happened this time, but it happens a lot, and then they just kind of expect that. I'm like, no.
They're like, Mom keeps saying that.
I know, but it happens every time.
Every time we're up here.
I know.
That's cool. Do you find that their personalities are similar, or do you? I mean, I know one wants to be boring, but
I love that.
Are there things that you think that they gravitate to? Maybe is maybe one more into like, I don't know, art, architecture, maybe the industry you're in. What do you think they like?
Yeah, they're complete opposites. So people all the time, because they go to the same school, ask them if they're even brothers. And it's kind of funny because one looks like me and one looks like their dad. And their dad was Spanish, so he has that little Spanish, little darkness to his skin.
Okay.
I love it. But they're completely opposite. So yes, my older one, he is built athletic.
Our young brothers.
Yeah, I know. So he's 10, and he already comes up to my eyes.
Wow.
He's humongous, and he's going to be tall. And he's just built athletic.
Yeah.
He's built like me. Poor kid does not have an athletic bone in his body.
Really?
So he's very artistic. He loves drawing. He comes from a line of people who are a very artistic family on his father's side, not from me. And he definitely got that gene. But yeah, he tries different sports, and he's getting better, but not just really athletically gifted. Now my younger one is.
Oh,
he's
really?
very agile, very athletic. Everything he does, he just picks up very easily.
Yeah.
So he's the one that's always bouncing off the walls. It's like the second kids. It's the second ones that are the little wild child.
Yeah.
So
Well, a lot of times, because I see it in my friends, like the second kid, it seems like the first kid's very cerebral and structured and well-mannered.
And they trick you, and then you have a second one.
Yes, and then you have a second one, and they go, I'm not doing what the first one's doing.
Exactly. I'm like, what happened? What did I do wrong? Yeah, the second came out like a firecracker.
Yeah.
Just like, here I am.
And it's so consistent with different people. Like, I see that in a lot of people where the older ones just, and you see little memes and things where they're like, or videos where it's kind of like parents of the first kid.
Yeah.
And it's like very structured and taken care of, and here,
Oh, yeah.
And then after a while, it's like, do whatever you want.
Oh, yes. That definitely happens with the second.
I'm the youngest of my siblings. And
Okay.
by the time I got there, my dad was done.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, hey, why don't you take me to go throw the ball? And he was older at the time, and he would say, I taught the other siblings, so they can teach you.
Yeah, you guys sort it out on your own, yes.
And I will say I turned out to be the more ornery, obnoxious, loud, irritating one. So,
yeah. It's always the babies of the family. I'm the baby of the family.
Are you really?
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
I just have one older brother, but I'm still the baby.
There's 5 of us.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of competitiveness and trash talking and just being mean to each other.
Isn't that natural sibling?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Your kids get along pretty well. They take care of each
do.
other.
They're very close. Unfortunately, especially after their father passed away a little over a year ago, they just are so dependent on each other, and they're just very, very close and very sweet to each other. So you'll still see the boy wrestling and thing like that, but they're very close. They're very sweet to each other.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what are some of the cool things y'all have gotten to do as far as vacation? Because you said you like to surf. What else you like doing?
Yeah, I like traveling. I like surfing. I go to the river almost every day when there's actually water in there.
I want to know how you do what you do, and you're cool with sharks.
I don't love sharks, but you know what? Since I started surfing and I started going to Costa Rica surfing, what I learned is I would rather see 100 sharks than one crocodile in the ocean.
Really?
The crocs go in the ocean in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are some feisty, mean things, and you don't want to come across them.
Do they go out as deep as your surfing?
Yes, they do.
Wow.
They do. So I would rather see 100 sharks than one crocodile. And it's kind of funny because I actually think I caught Kelly Slater saying the same thing, and I get it now once I experienced it. So yeah, I love surfing. I always seem to be planning my next trip. A lot of things revolve around tropical because I like the sunshine. I like tropical, and I feel kind of bad because my kids keep telling me they want to see some snow again. They've only seen the Texas
Do they
snow.
like snowboarding and stuff like that?
They've never been. I'm
They
the
would
worst.
love it, I
keep
bet.
taking them on tropical trips, so they've only seen snow in the Texas. The one time we had the Texas storm, so
Did they love it?
they loved it.
Did y'all end up like most people trapped in the house with no groceries?
I
actually talked about this
yesterday.
yesterday.
I was actually prepared. So we actually fared off pretty well. I kind of saw it coming a little bit, so I had already gotten the groceries, and then I have a fireplace, a gas fireplace, so we stayed warm the whole time. It was really nice, but yeah, no, it's just a fun time for the kids. And then we had a German Shepherd at the time. She had never seen snow, and she just went crazy too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
I used to, when I was younger, I worked with a group of guys that loved to go surf fishing. And so, not surf fishing, we would go wade fishing.
Yeah.
And so we'd gone to Rockport. And this is when we were stupid. We were 20-year-olds, probably late 20s. But we stayed stupid a long time.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever seen an alligator on the beach.
Yes.
And so we go in Rockport, there's a place called Big Tree.
Okay.
And so we would park there, and according to the folklore, I'll take another one.
Can I make you another mimosa?
Let's do this.
I like that you like
That was
my
really
mimosa.
good.
I love it. Turn you into a mimosa lover. I do that to people.
I feel so fancy today. It's ridiculous. So Big Tree, the story is, and I'm going to screw it up and people will probably tell me that I'm an idiot. Blackbeard apparently had a map.
Yeah.
And his map talked about his treasure being so many feet from Big Tree. So this is a big deal in Rockport. Well, we would park there. We'd walk out into the surf, and we would cross, I think it was 4 or 5 barbed wire fences that were in the salt water. So there's rust everywhere. There's tetanus all over the place.
Our worst nightmare.
Yeah, and we were like, just be careful. And I remember walking, and I looked, and I told my buddy, I said, is that an alligator on the beach?
My gosh.
And he's all, oh, yeah, they're everywhere. And I was like, are you cool with that? And he's like, yeah. And I said, all right, if you're cool with it, I would. And back then, now I'm scared of everything.
Yeah.
But yes, I never knew that they hung out in salt water like that. I thought they were just always fresh water.
Yeah. That was a surprise to me, especially being in Costa Rica too. I was not expecting to see that. And they're like, yeah, just, go about your business, just ignore them. But they're right there. And the crocs there, they're huge. So
have you had any sketchy situations with them?
Traveling or surfing?
Surfing.
Surfing. Yes, when I was in Santa Barbara, California, there was a secret spot to go out you could only get to
There's
by
great
boat.
whites on that side, isn't it?
Yeah, so we went out to Hollister Ranch, which is the same Hollister of the clothing, and you can only get there by boat.
Gotcha.
And we went out really early in the morning before we had to work, be at work at 6 a.m. And it was me and a whole bunch of anesthesiologists from work at the hospital. And I'd finished up surfing, so I was just sitting on my board right by the boat. And then all of a sudden, I got ripped out of the water. Like someone just pulled me up by my arm. And I'm a really tall woman, but they pulled me out by my arm, my ankle. And I was like, what's going on? And they just threw me in the boat. I'm like, what are you guys doing? What's going on? And they're like, just look at that. And there was like this great, I presume it was a great white. I'm not sure. It was about 12 to 14 feet just circling my board.
Really?
So, yeah.
So is that behavior them fixing to attack?
I'm not sure. I think when they bump you, that might be them before they take a bite out of you. But I don't know if they were just curious, honestly. But I was very happy to be in the boat once I saw it.
We need to find you a new hobby.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to cut it.
It was funny because in college, my nickname was Shark Bait in college.
How did you get that?
I'm not really sure because I didn't think I had any stories in college about shark encounters, but yeah, my friends always called me Shark Bait, probably because I was always running for the ocean to go surf, and there was a storm coming, I was running into the ocean.
What's funny because my wife has several overly attractive cousins. Mm-hmm. So cousin in Spanish is prima. Mm-hmm. So I always call myself prima bait.
Oh.
So anytime I take a picture of them, that's my little hashtag prima bait.
Prima bait, I love it.
We'll see what happens with those girls. I don't know. Maybe it'll go somewhere. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
I love it.
There's they all know how irritating I am.
How irritating.
So what do you have coming up? You're off presumably right now.
Right now I'm off. I've actually finished up my travel for the year. I don't have any other work contracts coming up because now we're getting into the holidays. So
September.
September. I know I'm already done with that. I've already done my duties for the year.
I'm done working this year.
I'm pretty much done. I don't have anything planned right now, but I also get the last minute calls. Hey, someone's sick. Can you do this coverage? Or hey, someone's going on vacation. Can you do that? So I'm still a little bit open, but I pretty much wrapped up all my traveling for the year, and then we'll start going into the holidays. So just some leisure trips right now coming up. No work trips. Right after the new year, I'll start getting back to work too.
So do you work locally too, or when you're here and you're off, you're off?
Yeah, so I pick up some shifts at the hospital and then at the urgent care locally. So when I'm home, so I still do some things when I'm not traveling.
Well, that's got to be exciting for your kids to have you home.
Yeah, it is. I get to go to sporting events and
that's cool.
Just be mom and drink mimosas with really cool people.
Well, Shannon didn't make it, but I'll accept that.
Nice.
Where are you looking at going next year as far as work-wise?
I have 14 state licenses, so I can go a lot of different places. I don't have anywhere.
Do you prefer something over the other?
Gosh, that's a good question. I like California a lot, although I haven't been there recently. So I'm not sure if it would still be the same. I haven't been there in a few years. I wouldn't mind getting back to Maine. I really would like to go there maybe next summer. And then there's some hospitals that they keep asking me to go back for contracts that I really love and enjoy. So, such as South Dakota and Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've been going there for several years now and absolutely love it. So who knew, South Dakota?
I was going to say, what's in South Dakota that's sick?
So
outside of Sturgis.
Yeah, I started going there for Sturgis, and then they still use you all year round. So that was a really great hospital I really liked. But
did you get to participate in Sturgis?
I did not get on a motorcycle, but I got to participate in Sturgis. So
I've never been.
It's crazy.
What was the wildest thing you saw?
Oh my gosh. Probably all the concerts were really neat to see.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the concerts were really neat to see. So I got to see Kid Rock while I was there.
That's cool.
That was really neat. He played 2 days. Just working in the medical field, you see some famous people and you see some celebrities. Obviously, we can't talk about it, but yeah, you see some interesting things. Let's just put it that way. So. So, that was a lot of fun.
How long do you plan on doing this? Is this something you want to do up to retirement, or do you think you would just continue doing it forever?
Right now, I can't imagine ever stopping. Yeah. I think I have the best schedule, the best pay. I still get a lot of time at home with my children. So right now, I have no plans of stopping. So I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll get a permanent job. It's just not in the future right now for me. So
that's so cool. Like I don't see a negative to what you do. And like I told you earlier, there's a lot of younger folks, I guess, that. When I think about to my high school years, there was always, this anxiety with what am I going to do for a living? What am I going to, because it's almost immediate, right? You graduate high school and it's like, depending on what your situation is, for most people, it's like, hey, you need to start making a living right now.
I had the PR marketing major because they said you have to put something down, and I didn't know what to put, so I put PR marketing, and here I am, and
I don't even
Nurse
know
Practitioner.
what I put.
Yeah, but you had to put something though. Remember?
Put something. Yeah. I think I'd put electrician or something because that's what my brother was doing.
Not too far.
My brother was the first one to really do something that I didn't know existed, which was an electrician. Right. Again, I was probably more ignorant than your regular 16, 17, 18-year-old because of where my mind was. But there's a lot of times where I guess sell ourselves short. We'll get into a job right out of high school. We get comfortable there, and then we don't pay attention to what other options are there. And then you turn into a 46-year-old plumbing designer in New Braunfels, and you go, what am I doing with my life? And a lot of times, to me, we kind of touched on it earlier, is it's really important for me that people get exposure to different types of careers, because I never knew what was out there. And that kind of, my parents love them to death. But they always lived and worked in George West. School was important to them, but it wasn't something that they pushed you to work harder on, right?
Yeah.
It was like, for a lot of families, especially in rural communities, we're just happy that you graduated, But in reality, you're capable of so much more than what you're doing, And for me, it was I think my last 6 weeks of, maybe 6 or 2 weeks, I don't know, of high school. I remember I was in a classroom. It was homemaking, and Miss Devaney was going through our list of things to do, and we forgot to draw floor plans. That was part of the curriculum.
Okay.
And so she presented that to us. I drew mine. I loved it. I fell in love with architecture. I did 6 of my friends' homework. And at the time, I was like, what is this? I don't even know what this is. And she's like, well, it's drafting. In hindsight, drafting is kind of a tool. Engineering and architecture is the career, right? Back then, I didn't know. I was like, well, I'm going to be a draftsman. I'm going to go to B County. I'm going to do 2 years. And so that's kind of where I went. And so it's almost like, I tell everybody this and now that I'm older, I don't care, right? I'll tell you how stupid I was. I feel like with the lack of exposure and education to things, I've always undershot goals. To me, they were lofty. Yeah. But compared to everybody else, which I had no knowledge of, they were pretty short, And so I've constantly gone after something, ended up in an area, focused on it, committed myself to it. And then before I know it, 10, 15 years have gone by, and I look around going, oh, I didn't shoot nearly as far as I should have. So being able to see somebody like you, like I said, through Shannon, I came across you and I saw what you were doing, and had no clue what it was. But there's so many people, especially in the rural communities, they go, hey, I need a career. Yeah. I need it to be stable. I'm going to go into the medical industry. Yeah. And so they go work at a nursing home. Maybe they stay in the same town, and they work different nursing homes or different hospitals. And this is a great option. Yeah. I mean, you haven't said one negative. You know what? What is one negative thing about what you do?
The only negative is, you do have to travel. You do have to be away from home. So every time when I say, I work the week on, the week off, so I have a travel day before and a travel day after. So even though I work 7 on, 7 off, you still have that travel day before, 7 in the travel day after. So maybe, but I don't mind traveling. Like I said, I travel so much. I get upgraded to first class. I have all the lounges. So I try to make everything I can as comfortable as possible because I do travel. And I think that's, a little splurge on myself just to make sure I have all the right lounges and stuff. So maybe traveling's negative, or going into a new environment, and that could be a negative for some people, but I love what I do. I always say I've never woken up a day in my life and said I don't want to go to work. I don't like my job and I don't want to go to work. And I was a nurse in 2006. That's a long time to really love and enjoy what I do. But, I'm from, I think it's a lot of small town Texas. I grew up in a small town in New Braunfels, believe it or not, used to be a lot smaller. Yeah. So, and I think there's this mindset of you just don't get out of your town. Yeah. So, and because I have so many friends that, they're just doing the same thing. They go to work, or they're still drinking at the same bars we were drinking at, but they haven't really changed their life very much. So I knew after I graduated from college, I said I wanted to get out of this small town. There's something bigger than, my small Texas town. And I did. And I think it's just leaving that comfort zone. But once you do, it's amazing. And, I still like to come back home, and this is where I live, but I like to see the world too.
Yeah. Do you think initially, and I may have touched on it a little bit, but do you think initially there was an anxiety for you to take that leap, or maybe even go into your first job, or were you kind of inspired immediately? I have my buddy Clay. He had a foreign exchange daughter, and I had her on here. Her name was AB. Super cute, super sweet, and it was funny to talk to her because she's 16. I think she's 17 now. She's a senior. And it was so interesting because talking to her, she just wants to see the world. She's ready to go today. There's no anxiety. Yeah. There's no fear. To her, it's just opportunity. But she is ready to go today.
Yeah.
And for me, I need a heads up because I need to talk myself out of it. I need to talk myself into it. I got to do that for about a week and a half.
Yeah.
But then there's people like this, So where did you fall?
I think I saw it as the opportunity and just something to see. There's something so much bigger than what we live in right here. And there's so many amazing places to see. And I wanted to see all those. But yeah, when my first job out of nursing school, leaving my small town, was in Miami, Florida. I went to the biggest trauma center I could find in Miami, Florida. And yeah, I went to Miami, and there in Miami, I was the minority. It was such a big, culture melting pot. There were so many,
Cubans.
So, yeah, it was like Cubans, and, there's Haitians, and they're speaking Creole and Spanish, and I'm just trying to keep up. So it was so diverse and just such a good learning experience. But yeah, it was a little intimidating, but I'm really good in new situations, so it always worked out. But yeah, it gets a little intimidating, but it's an opportunity for sure.
Now, I'm a fat, overly attractive guy. Who has the best food? What part of the country?
Ooh, good question.
Because when I go somewhere, that's my biggest fear. It's like I could never have gone to other countries because I'm like, what am I going to eat?
Yeah.
So to you, where's the best food?
Yeah, I'm a big foodie too. I always say I'm like a foodie, and I'm very into wine too. And I'm a big Yelper, so I'll look at reviews, and I always like to find hidden gems. Yeah. Every town I go, I find the hidden gems. I don't go to the big chain restaurants. I want the hidden gems. Oh, gosh, who had the best food? Maine was just, if you like lobster, seafood and lobster and so many different ways to eat lobster, that was pretty incredible.
Wow.
And I'm talking, you go in and you point in the bucket and say, I want that one. And, they have this amazing meal for maybe $6.
Really?
It was crazy. So I ate pretty well in Maine, but I'm pretty good about finding hidden gems.
Yeah.
There's around here, there's 3 little hidden gems that I go to all the time.
What is one of them?
One of them, I like the Cibolo, the wine, the vineyard, and then I like Vine in the Village, which is just down the street here.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some great little hidden gems in downtown Bulverde.
Now, he's a little expensive, but I like him.
Mm-hmm.
I did a podcast with my buddy Oscar.
Okay.
Oscar owns... Now, like I said, he's a little pricey. Sorry, Oscar. He owns Salomon in New Braunfels.
I've not been there yet.
Have you heard of it?
I've heard amazing things about it.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me about Oscar and tell me about his place.
Oscar, you got to be ready for some inappropriate conversation. Mm-hmm. He will talk to you in a manner that you think he's being mean, but he's not.
Yeah, a little sarcastic.
He hates when I go because I give him hell.
Yeah.
And I always say, hey, do you have what they have at Chili's? He hates when you compare his cooking to chain restaurants.
Oh my gosh, now I need to go and tease him.
Food's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not a wine person.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you are.
Well, I'm a champagne person.
Yeah, sparkling wine.
The closest thing was Miller High Life, which was the champagne of beers. Mm-hmm. But he's got he is into wine. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of his background is he used to be an accounting professor at the University of Guadalajara.
Okay.
He moved to California. He got real involved in, I guess, wine and the wine scene. So he made a lot of friends with people in California. He started cooking. I think he had like an IT business for a while, but he kind of just stuck with cooking. Now he's a big wine snob. The food, you gotta like spicy.
I love spice.
Oh, you're gonna love it at
spice.
Oscars. So his food's amazing. His wine selection apparently is high end because he's a big wine guy.
Okay.
So I think at some point we need to get Shannon and we need to go hang out at Oscars.
We need a wine date for sure.
His food is phenomenal. Like, this is hard to believe because he's like, how do you get fat, and be picky with food? I'm super picky. Meat, cheese, and bread. I don't just keep vegetables. He uses, this sounds so stupid. He uses ingredients and spices. I haven't had that since I got married.
Yeah.
Because DoorDash doesn't do all that.
No.
It's phenomenal. I've told him several times, I'm like, Oscar, if I went to the house to recreate this, I wouldn't buy these ingredients because I don't, it's just weird stuff.
Yeah.
But the way he cooks it and just the flavors mixing. Oh,
that's incredible. Now I'm intrigued.
He's
Between
got
the wine and the food. I need to go.
He's got, what would I recommend? There's something I always get. And I'll get a, usually I go for breakfast because he makes, I don't know.
I heard their
his eggs are good.
Really good.
His refried beans, I don't know what he puts in them, but they're so good.
I like refried beans, actually.
His everything, the breakfast stuff's good. But he makes this open face gordita.
Okay.
And it's like it's kind of like a breading. I don't know what it is. He says things, but I don't really listen because I'm like, yeah, just bring food.
Just feed me.
Just feed me. You know how to make it. That's all I need to know. I need to know you know how to make it. But it's just like this open face gordita, and it makes it with a pork belly. And it's got like this red spicy sauce on it, and then he puts, I don't know what it is. I'm going to say, it's not whipped cream. Maybe sour cream? I don't know. It's like a white stuff people put on tacos.
Yeah.
Again, ingredients, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is phenomenal. And so I will order food, and he's like, you want to go to gordita? And I'm like, yeah, I bring gordita. And so that's really good. Lengua, I don't know if you're a fan of lengua. Lengua is the cow's tongue. He's got lengua tacos, but the sauce that this stuff's in is amazing. Okay. And I tell him, if you could figure out how to put this, how to bottle this, because I can make meat, I can't make the flavor, and it's phenomenal. He's got a bunch of different plates. We'll have to talk to Shannon that we can trick him into going with us, because I think Shannon would like it. I don't know if Shannon's ever been. But
yeah, I don't think he has either.
It's on 306.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because it's right next to MBU. But if you come in from 35 306, you got to go and turn around and come back. Unless you come from like Green or whatever.
Yeah, see, that's where I live.
So you would come and he'd be right there off the side. It used to be, I don't even think it's there anymore. It used to be above ground pizza because underground pizza moved.
That's right. Okay.
And so it's in that little strip mall.
Gotcha.
Like I said, if we ever go, he's probably going to tell me to leave. Okay. But he's just joking.
I love it.
Because every time I turn around and walk out, he tells me I can come back.
Yeah.
But wine, food, it's good. Weird thing is, I've never seen him completely swamped. Which I've told him before, when you get busy, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Downtowner was like that. Downtowner was the spot that we'd go to, and it was like, food's amazing, and then it got real hipster on me. And I don't know if it's turned around, but it got super hipster, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, it's the last time we're coming.
Yeah. It's probably still the same.
Yeah, I mean, they have great food.
New Braunfels has a lot of great food.
New Braunfels turned into this weird, place where you can get really good food, great atmosphere. The music scene's gotten better, and of course the rivers. And there's things that are within walking distance. There's things within driving distance. Like you can hit multiple things in a night, which drives me crazy because it's so geared toward people who want to come have a good time that I need fewer people so I can have a good time. But
yeah, we wait for off season. But in Green, I think there's 7 different live music venues within walking distance of my house. So a typical Sunday fun day, I have a little pink beach cruiser, and I will put some champagne in my little basket in the front, and I'll just ride my bike to all the different live music venues and listen to a set or two. I get to pull up right in the front because I'm on my bike. And then I'll just go to the next place.
That's awesome.
It's fun. It's my little Sunday fun day. I do that all the time. So there's so much great live music.
Yeah.
I think we're really lucky in that way, having all the Texas country, and then they bring in bands from all over. So
now I will say this: I hold New Braunfels in high regard, but you're getting more and more crackheads.
Yeah.
I was like, where is this coming from? Because I see them, at work, and I'm driving in town.
Yeah.
And at one point, it was overgrown. The overpass by 35 and Walnut.
Yeah.
And you guys had a whole homeless community in those woods.
That's so funny. That's the opposite side of town. I haven't been over there. But yeah, no, we're seeing some things. I feel like some things from Austin are kind of coming our way a little bit. Yeah, in San Antonio. So, I mean, it's happening, but, I feel like it's kind of everywhere at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a reoccurring scene in most places. But definitely, Oscar, wine. Even if you go today.
Oh,
what's today?
It's today's Sunday Fun Day.
Yeah, I think he's open today. He even had he loves mimosas.
See.
I think he had live music on Sundays from time to time. If you bat your eyes and you're real nice to him, I haven't done that yet. This is why I haven't been invited.
Well, that's probably why.
He does a once a month. He calls it wine drinking.
Okay.
He says, we don't taste here. We drink.
Love it.
So I forget what the price is. It's maybe $100 or something. But, and he has to invite you because to him, he's like, this is my gift to my special clients. Which, again, where's my invite, Oscar?
Oscar, you're failing us.
But it's like he sets up a table for like 30 people. They come, they have a 5-course meal, and then they just drink bottles of wine. And it's just family style, just people that he's into.
The wine dinner pairing. I love that. I like stuff like that.
And so he does that real well. I think he even does like a wine cooking class too. I think you would really enjoy it.
See, I think you like wine. And, we have Fredericksburg just down the road. I go there as often as I can. There's some wine there. We have some good Texas wine.
You know why I think he hates me?
Yeah.
I think it's because...
You have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's because I think I'm hilarious and he doesn't. But when we did a podcast, I said, hey, man, he said, I'll make some food. We'll do some tasting. I said, all right, cool. I said, I'll bring some liquor. Well, there's levels to liquor, right? So to me, when I'm being fancy, I'm drinking Jim Beam honey.
Yeah.
A little bit of water, a lot of ice.
Okay.
So I took a bottle. And he's like, what is this? I said, whiskey. And he's like, okay, we'll drink wine. And so he brought out, he called it like it wasn't the bottom, but it was a couple levels up.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever had wine that I liked.
Was it red wine?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we had a glass. I think there's like 4 glasses of wine in a bottle?
4.5.
And so... Is it 4.5? Oh.
I don't know that, though.
So we had a glass together. His son loved it. His son sat in the corner and drank the whole bottle while we recorded. But it was funny because we're sitting there eating, talking, drinking. And I've never been a wine fan. I guess I had just cheap wine.
Yeah, if you're drinking the wrong wine, you might not be a wine fan.
I didn't like it. So I didn't think I was going to like this. But surprisingly, it was really good. So I've never really drank wine. So I drank it like I was drinking sweet tea.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and so when I got up to pee, the room started spinning.
Yeah.
And I had to hold on the walls to get to the restroom. My heart rate was elevated. My face was flushed.
Did you get flushed? Yeah,
oh, so bad.
Flushed.
I was sweating I sweat like crazy anyway, but I was sweating like crazy. And used the restroom, came back out, and he's like, hey, we got to get another glass. And I was like, Oscar.
I can't.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to go home.
Red wine hits you differently.
He drank both. He just pounded them. And I was like, I need to stay away from wine.
Yeah.
So.
No, just sip it. Sip it.
Well, I always thought wine, like I didn't think wine had that kind of strength to it because who's the ladies of Orange County drink it all the time.
It's sneaky.
Yeah.
It's
so
sneaky.
I thought these ladies are drinking it.
They built up a tolerance.
That's probably what he did too. So it was good. We had a good time. We shot shit. We had wine and good food. But Oscar's place is really, it's been a while since I've been there. I need to go over there soon.
I think so.
It just turns into a weird thing. Like after work, I just want to get out of New Braunfels and get home. You know, 35 traffic's always a nightmare.
It is.
And so, but his food is so good. It's so good. So I hope you make a trip there.
I'm intrigued now. I've heard so many good things about the place, so I've not been yet, and now I have even more motivation to go now that I heard about their wine menu. So.
He's closed on Mondays. So this is another funny story that I think we've talked about on here before. Our division manager, at the company I work at, New Braunfels, she's a pretty sharp lady. And one day I told her, I said, hey, I'm having some problems with some coworkers as far as getting them to perform. I like to grab people by the throats. She's way more diplomatic. So I said, let's do lunch. I said, I'd love to talk to you, pick your brain, get some ideas from you, see how you handle things. Mm-hmm. So she said, okay, let's go Monday. I said, okay. So I wanted to make sure it was nice for her. And so I called Oscar. This was during COVID because I would go to Oscar's because hardly anybody was going. Yeah. And so I didn't have to wear a mask. I could go and just chill and have a good time. So I called him and I said, hey, you open today? I'm going to bring my division manager. We're going to have lunch. He's like, yeah, come on up. So we went over there. We get there, nobody's there. And so she and I are talking. We're talking about things that, you know, I had questions on. But the conversation starts going to, man, I hope he stays open. You know, nobody's here.
Yeah.
So I said, let's just order everything. I said, let's order meals, appetizers, desserts.
The works.
Yeah. So we do it. We order all this food. We eat. We get to-go boxes. And so finally we're sitting there, and he comes over, and I said, man, Oscar, everything was great. You know, thanks again. And I say, hey, man, have you been this slow for a while? Is it because of COVID? And he looks at me and he goes, no. He says, we're closed on Mondays. And I said, what do you mean you're closed on Monday? And he's like, yeah, we're not open on Monday. He said, but you called and said you were going to come, so I came to cook.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is the thing. Instead of me going, Oscar, I really appreciate your effort in doing this for us. And I really enjoy it. All of a sudden, out of my mouth, everybody I saw, I would say, hey, I've got my own personal chef. Let me know. I'll call him. He'll come in on Monday.
Oh, my goodness. No wonder you guys have a love-hate relationship.
I got super cocky because I was like, oh, this is my guy.
My personal chef.
I
bring my clients here.
2 hours. Give me 2 hours and it'll be open.
Mm-hmm. That's hysterical.
But,
what a great story.
Yeah, so he was super cool about it. And like I said, the guy cooks amazing. Mm-hmm. He takes a lot of pride in his food. Again, he's a little expensive, but that's because I'm used to ordering out of my truck at a drive-through window.
Yeah.
So that's what I equate prices to. So
I love it. I'm intrigued though.
Yeah. What is a little gem that you found in New Braunfels food-wise? Or wine and food-wise?
Little gems in New Braunfels. Gosh, should I give away all my secrets?
No, just give one, because I tell you what, when I tell people and then they go, I want to go there, I'm like, don't go.
It's awful.
I don't want to see you there.
Horrible.
It's the worst place.
Awful.
I keep telling people, Texas, same lady, her name's Lisa Jaster. She's heavy on social media. She posted something, yes or no, is Texas a good state for women to work out of? And I said, no, Texas is horrible. Y'all get out. Go and get.
I heard California is amazing.
Quit coming.
I know. California is fabulous.
So don't give me your top spot.
Yeah, in New Braunfels. So if I go to a restaurant with my friends, we go to, it's called the Birdhouse now. It used to be called River House. It's in Green. It's called the Birdhouse. Local farm to table concept. The owners live in New Braunfels. For drinks, I like this place called Last Call. It's a speakeasy prohibition type environment. It's very upscale.
Is that in New Braunfels or Green?
In Green.
Okay.
I tend to do a lot of things in Green.
Oh, it's a good spot. Yeah. Green's awesome.
And then 1863 The Reserve, which is on 1863 The Road I took to get here. Okay. It's just right on the right as soon as you go on 1863. So you have to look at it on your, you go home the other way.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I come here from New Braunfels, so I'll have to keep an eye out.
So those are a few of my little hidden gems. I hate talking about them though. Yeah. Because they'll be over.
I'll cut this out. Yeah, I'm the same way.
But yeah, every city I go to, I love finding the hidden gems. I don't like to go to big commercialized places. Just like you said, you don't like a lot of crowds. I like the small, intimate places where you can talk to the owner, or maybe, the people who've worked there forever. And I like places like that. So a lot of places I go to, I sit down, they're like, here's your drink. They already know what I like. We have a good rapport. I feel very safe there. And I think that's important when you're traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get to know people. Because sometimes when I'm traveling, it's like, I still want to go out and eat good food. I don't want to order, takeout or just just, eat fast food. So I still go out to restaurants, but I'll usually just sit at the bar and hopefully there's, someone nice I can talk to and just not feel so, alone. But I think just establishing a good place and little hidden gems is always nice.
So with all this travel, what is do you have a means of self-defense? Do you know karate?
That's a very good question. I actually took a women's self-defense course that the New Braunfels Police Department offers to New Braunfels, I believe, every year in May or in springtime. And I took it. It was an amazing course. I highly recommend all women to take self-defense courses. Not just
Does every police department offer that or just New Braunfels? That sounds interesting.
New Braunfels does. A lot of karate, jiu-jitsu places will offer them for free, like just like a one-time workshop. This was one I went to, I think, for 2 or 3 weeks. It was incredible. I mean, they had the police officers all geared up and you were just, beating the shit out of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was very legit. And they would have you, on the ground pinned down and they'd say, how are you going to get out of this now? Or, they come up behind you and, grab you, put you in chokehold. And these are police officers.
Do they show you before or do they just put you in the scenario?
They demonstrate it, but then they pad themselves up and then they put you in a real life, scenario and they're like, get yourself out. And you're going to use the techniques that we showed you. But it was very realistic. It was very empowering. So, yeah, I think just not just from traveling, every day in life, I think all women need to take that. It can't hurt. Yeah.
No, I think it's good that you've done that. And I'm not to get all weird and stuff, but like with my wife, I love her attitude. Well, I take that back. She got a shitty attitude. I love that she kind of sees the world as times have changed. She kind of sees it differently, but initially she saw it with eyes of somebody who didn't think there was quite so much negativity out there.
Yeah, she's not so jaded.
Yeah, and so she's kind of disconnected from it. I seek out information, so I'm always seeking out things. She sees something, she goes, I'm going to avoid it. But one of the bigger things she loves to go do things. Or I'm kind of a homebody and I'm trying to avoid meeting new people. She loves being in the middle of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I tell her all the time, I'm like, she loves to wear these stupid flip-flops that are super thin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at least take tennis shoes. You're going downtown, you're going to Fiesta, you're going to do whatever, at least take tennis shoes. And that's one thing that, when I travel, usually I take a gun, right? If we're going to the valley, or we go anywhere, I'm taking one. But it's so interesting because I get real comfortable and you should be safe everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But it's like I get real comfortable in my area, right? If I'm going to go to the gas station in shirts or the HEB gas station shirts and it's midnight, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Even though we have had a guy running from the cops and almost shot him. But, my area I'm cool with.
Yeah.
But when I go outside of that area, my awareness is gets a lot sharper. So for you, where you're going to a completely different place that is super foreign to you, maybe not so much now that you've done it for several years, but it's like I would be super nervous about it. I would want something I don't know anything outside of shooting somebody to defend myself.
Yeah.
But
you have to be aware. You have to be cautious. I always try to do things that are safe. Just like we were talking about earlier, when I travel and I have all the lounges, but if I have to get up and use the restroom, I'll ask the bartender, I'm like, hey, can you hold my drink? Or I'll put, a napkin over it. Not that will, save me from everything, but I try to do little things like that.
That napkin is more of a defense than what do you think?
I think so. And I'll kind of even bend it a certain way so I can tell if it's been moved, or I'll put my lipstick on it or my chapstick so I can tell if it's been moved or not. Just little things like that. But every time I stay in a hotel, you check all the locks, things like that. But
you travel with friends from work? Well, let's say if you go somewhere for dinner or something for drinks or something, y'all go in groups or?
Yeah, we do. So I've been so blessed at every contract. I've made such amazing friends. Good. And I think that's why I like it. I have such good groups of friends everywhere. And we'll go out for girls' nights and we'll go out for drinks. And we try to be cautious. We try to Uber. We always text each other, make sure everyone got home okay. But it's everywhere. It's in your small town. It's in big cities. You just got to be really cautious. So, but it's kind of interesting that we're talking about this because I feel like the places that I'm, most getting attacked is sometimes in the hospital with patients.
Really?
Yeah, they can get a little feisty sometimes. So that can happen. So whenever I'm blocking a punch, sometimes it's from a patient in a hospital.
You know what's? And I want to get more into that here in a second. But it's funny. I got a firefighter buddy in San Antonio, and we were talking a while back. And he said, I don't know if it's the lights. I don't know if it's the sirens. He's like, but when we pull up to a scene, people want to fight us.
Really?
He says, or they'll shoot at us.
No.
He says, and we're the only reason we're not the cops. We're here to help. And he told me years ago, he said, yeah, I'm not allowed to interact with people for a while. I said, what happened? He said, well, I broke a guy's jaw.
Oh, okay.
And he said the guy ran up, was swinging at him and some other guys. And so he said, I punched him to stop him and broke his jaw. He said, so then we had to work on his jaw. But he says, we've been places where we get shot at, we get fought with. And so I'd imagine that would carry on into the emergency room.
Yeah, you see some pretty crazy things in the emergency room. You know, if they're hopped up on all sorts of, you know, illegal substances,
Can you tell what they're on by their behavior?
Well, we always do a tox. Well, not by their behavior. You know they're on something, and we do a tox screen on them so we can pinpoint it. But yeah, you come in, you're like, oh, that's meth, that's fentanyl, that's too much alcohol. Yeah, you can kind of get an idea of what they're on. And then some people are just not very nice, or their family members are not very nice, and you know they'll go after you. And we always say, like, I don't know, after COVID something happened, like people got a little bit crazier in the healthcare. So yeah, people will just come up and start yelling and cursing at you. Luckily, if you're in a hospital, you're a little bit more protected, there's security. But when I'm in an urgent care and I'm by myself, I'm the sole provider, and patients are just, you know, freaking out over whatever reason, it does get a little bit scary. So
what is y'all's procedure for somebody? Let's say you get somebody in that needs immediate care, but at the same time they're being belligerent.
We get that a lot. So I'm going back to one scenario that I had. It was just awful. So we had a young male adult who was shooting up with, you know, an illegal substance, and he, you know, hit someone. He hit, you know, the abuela and then the uncle. And, you know, so she didn't make it. You know, all three of them came to the emergency room. And so you just think you have the families for two of them, and they're trying to fight each other. You're trying to work on everyone. So, you know, we worked on her for hours, the grandma, because she was a priority. And then, you know, she ended up passing. We kept giving her blood. There's blood literally pouring out of the room. So she didn't make it. The uncle, you know, he died a few days later, and then this kid that, you know, caused the entire accident, you know, he had a police officer in his room. He was, you know, throwing off his splints, hitting the police officer in the face. I mean, he was just out of control. So yeah, we get that a lot.
That's wild.
It is wild. That's probably one of my wildest stories I have. So is
it something where, have you ever been in a position where you thought maybe this wasn't something you wanted to do anymore? It's when something like, because I mean, for me, I get super emotional. I get that you guys do this for a living, and there's probably a portion. When I used to work in Driscoll with some kids that were abused and things, and I always told people, I said, it's amazing the things you get used to. So somebody like you that's a heartbreaking story, you know, to see two members of a family die out of somebody making a terrible decision.
Yeah, and you have to work on all of them equally and treat them all the same, and yeah, it does get a little bit difficult.
Is it overwhelming, or is it something where you kind of take pride that you had the opportunity to try and save them? Is there?
Yeah, I think, you know, we talk about this at work a lot. I think a lot of times we just detach from the situation and we just power through it, because that's really the only thing, because we see some really horrible things. Yeah. I remember, like, one of the last things I saw, we had someone come to the emergency room and, like, purposely cut off a limb. Oh. Yeah, like, purposely. They had some psych issues, and, you know, that was just so traumatizing to see. And that, normally things don't bother me, but that probably gave me nightmares for 2 days.
That's crazy.
So, you know, things like that we see, like people with psych issues, you know, the one with the car accident when they, you know, basically, you know, when they murdered 2 other people, but, you know, he's still my patient. And then, you know, on top of it, I can't remember, he had a fracture that was sticking out, an open fracture is what we call it. And we were pulling off his clothes to get to the fracture. And then, you know, I had gloves on, but I grabbed his, like, pants to throw them away. And I was like, what poked me? And then, you know, the tech picks up this needle, and that's what he'd been shooting himself up with.
Really?
And I got poked by his needle. So on top of it, you know, I got stabbed with his needle, and then, you know, I had a blood test for the next 2 years. And then, you know, he's not being a very nice patient. He's throwing things at the police officers. I think he even took off his bandage with blood and was throwing that at them. And so he was just being a really combative patient on top of everything that had already happened.
So are you just constantly getting blood work done?
Yeah, I feel like I've had two, if not three. So, and then I just do it on my own every 6 months because I'm paranoid, because I work in trauma surgery. There's, like I said, there's blood on the ceiling. Ugh. So I feel like I just do it on my own, but then on top of it, if something happens to you, you have to get blood work done too.
I think I was supposed to get blood work done, but I didn't die, so it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
This is kind of a weird story, but I was working at Driscoll, and it was a girls' cottage that had gone off, and it was, again, I'm from a small town. I know everybody. I'm probably related to half of them, and now here I am in a situation where we've got this place with 200 kids that have been sexually abused or physically abused, and this girls' cottage goes off one day, and so they call, the little quote, or the little call was Dr. Armstrong. That man, everybody who's available, go over here. I walk in, and there's, I think that cottage was girls maybe 13 to 16, something like that. And it's going bananas.
Yeah.
And so I walk in, and this one girl, she takes the light bulb out of the lamp, and she smashes it on the table. And I'm just a kid from Georgia West.
Yeah.
So I walk in the door, and I look at her, and she starts licking it, the glass. And so she's cutting her mouth, she's cutting her lips, her hands are bleeding. So we were understaffed. I go around her, and I grab her by her wrist, and I just separate, right? Because I'm trying to keep her from licking glass. And there's blood everywhere.
I bet. That's traumatic.
It's all over her.
Sure. And you're not even medical.
Well,
That's
no.
traumatic.
Again, I'm just an inappropriate, misbehaving person from a small town. So it gets worse. So there's blood all over her. There's blood all over me. Yeah. And she won't stop trying to lick glass. So this other girl comes in, another girl that's in the cottage. And real sweet girl comes in, and she goes to the girl's hand, and I'm like, I shouldn't let her help, but I need help. Mm-hmm. She goes to pull a piece of glass out of the girl's hand, and then starts cutting her arm with the glass.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember sitting there going, oh, what in the world's going on?
What did I sign up for in life?
Cops ended up coming, took them away. They sent us to go get some blood work done. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because you say like for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think it's 18 months, but I do it for the 2 years because I'm paranoid.
And that makes sense. And the thing is, like, you say, okay, well, these are kids, but these are kids that have been sexually abused by a lot of people. Yeah. And so I think we went and did blood work. I was like, I'm never going back to that doctor's office to get my results. And then I'm Mexican too, right? So in the Mexican culture, if you ignore it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to ignore it and pretend that
they'll call me
if
it's bad.
Somebody will come find me.
No, so we're always doing blood work. And then, I have to thank the kid because I found out I'm allergic to heroin after that. Oh, good. When I got stabbed by his heroin needle, I had an allergic reaction to heroin.
Really?
So I can never be a heroin user. And I found out that day in the ER I'm allergic to heroin.
Well, you know what? You owe him a bit of thanks.
I don't know what else it was laced with, but yeah, just that one little poke. I had a horrible allergic reaction.
Really?
And I don't know what else was in there, but yes.
What was your feeling when you realized what happened?
I was so angry because it was so funny because the day before my surgeon was in this big, it was a 12-hour case. He was doing a pelvic surgery. It's a front, back. They had to flip the patient.
This was on the same kid?
This is a different case, but he had already told me the night before. He's like, look, you're on your own tomorrow. Like, I'm in the operating room. I can't help you. Like, you're completely on your own. And I'm thinking, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? I would have to put...
That's why it happened.
Yeah, and I'd have to put traction in someone. So he had such a bad open fracture that you actually have to drill traction into their femur to reduce the fracture, to pull the fracture down a little bit. And he was like, you're on your own. I don't know what to tell you. So, on top of getting poked by him, I had to go, still take care of him as a patient, drill into his leg, reduce the fracture and put traction on by myself. And I had the ER doctor next to me helping me.
And you're trained for all this, right?
I'm trained for this, but usually my surgeon's with me, but I did have the ER physician with me supervising me. But, we're like both, they're kind of all flustered because I just gotten poked with the needle and he's like helping me wash it off. And
it's amazing that
we still have to take care of this patient.
You're doing these procedures and it's under high stress.
Very high stress.
It's most people don't have to do their job covered in blood with heroin in their bloodstream.
Having an allergic reaction with a little heroin. Maybe that's why I was so hyped up, because I was on heroin. Does that make you hyper?
That is amazing.
Yeah, and then remember, we're walking from 3 different rooms because we have, the grandma, the uncle, and then this kid. So, we're also walking from 3 different rooms in the ER. That was one of the craziest days I think I've ever had. That made me go, why?
So it was anger, not fear? Or did fear kick in later?
I was angry, but I think my anger turned into energy, and who knows, maybe a little heroin mixed in there.
Well, you were high.
No, it was just a little poke. I think he'd already shot up everything, but whatever drop or 2 was left definitely gave me an allergic reaction. So I always joke about that. I'm allergic to heroin.
That's one thing that I guess we take for granted when you talk about medical personnel is it's much like law enforcement, firefighters, military folks. We don't quite understand the totality of what you guys do. And if we did, we'd have a lot more patience for you when we were in your care. A lot of times you get injured, you get hurt, you get sick, you go to the ER, you're waiting 8 hours, 9 hours, you're irritated. And it's, one thing that I think we, now I think there's times where things can get better and more efficient, but at the same time, we never, when we're in those kind of scenarios, we don't take into consideration what's going on behind the double doors, and it's kind of like, it's a shit show.
It is. It's a complete, I always say my, work is sometimes a shit show, but I think that's why we have such a funny sense of humor is what I call it, because when we'll be in a trauma together, it's just high stress, we're yelling, we're like, get me this, get me that, let's do that. And then we walk to our office and we're just, we're cracking the most inappropriate jokes. But I think that's how our coping mechanism, honestly, because we just saw something horrid, either, hopefully they made it most of the time. Sometimes they don't, we're covered and, who knows what. And then we go to our office and we just kind of have to de-stress, and we call it like our debrief. It's not a formal debrief, but we just kind of like talk and joke about what happened. And it's probably like horrible sick humor if you actually heard it, but that's our coping mechanism, because you have to detach and then kind of get back to reality.
My buddy Nick calls it trauma bonding.
It is. It's very much trauma bonding, whether that's healthy or not. We can discuss that at another time, but
What's
yes,
really
very much
healthy?
trauma bonding.
Who knows?
Yeah. But no, I admire the first responders, the police officers, the paramedics, and EMTs, because, they're the ones who are scraping people off the highway.
Yeah.
And I always say they package them up nicely before they even bring them to us. I honestly, I don't know if I could do, like what our friend Shannon does. He was the first responder, so they're the first ones on the field. They see them really bad off. By the time they get us to us, they're packaged a little bit nicely, if they even survive. So, I think we do things a little bit easier than what they actually have to do and then what they have to see and respond to. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of respect for those folks, or there should be anyway.
For sure. Those are the true first responders.
Yeah,
we're secondary.
That's a difficult thing. And one thing, out of all that, I guess the gory portions of it, the physical interactions, there is an aspect that tends to get ignored, which is the mental part of it. Because it's got to be difficult to do that on a regular basis and not have it be traumatizing to some degree. And that's another thing where it's like, well, if you ever need those services, you need to be a little patient, because you're not the first one they've seen, and they've seen plenty worse, but at the same time, I guess when we're in need, it's about me, right?
Yeah, of course. And, rightfully so. And everyone's experience is unique and different. And, we really try to spend time with our patients and not rush them. So, we try to give everyone, the time that they need and not feel like they're rushed. So, but then that takes time. Yeah. There's only so many of us and a lot more of them too. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I tell you what, I've had a lot of fun talking to you. Your mimosa game is on point.
I love it. And we're going to go drink wine.
Yes.
At Salaman.
This is really good. And anything else you want to share with folks?
If you want to follow me on my adventures of a traveling nurse practitioner, you can follow me on Instagram at travelingnp. So feel free to see what I'm up to and where I'm going. And if you have any other questions about being a traveling nurse practitioner, feel free to message me.
Awesome. Alyssa, I thank you so much for making the drive. I know it's a little bit of a journey, even though this might be your stomping grounds.
I love it.
But I'm so thankful. Thanks for coming. I had a good time. I might have a hair of a buzz. And
I did good then.
Thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.